Poison Rana.
Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 12 of Eagles Don't Hunt Flies, the show all about John Moxley right here on the Poison Rana Network. I'm your host, Martin Bushby, and joining me, Brandon from New Jersey, and Mr. Dickie Bird. And Dickie, back this month. Do you feel all refreshed, rejuvenated after your break last month? We kind of traded one Richard for another last month, but it was great to have you back, mate. Good chatting to know, but always great having you back on the show.
I appreciate it. I thought there would be too many dicks in one room. I mean, there usually already is, right? But
yep.
I thought in this case, swap one Richard out for another. But yeah, I mean, I wish I could tell you that I'm like feeling. It's a weird thing because like I took off last month just because it was probably a good opportunity to. I had a bunch of stuff on. It was probably a good like mental health break and all that sort of stuff. Then probably like a week later, I got very, very sick thanks to my son. Recovered from that, only to find that I am now in the beginning stages of the next illness that he's brought home. So we're doing this podcast just in time, Martin, because if we did it in a couple of days or even this time next week, I can't guarantee that I would be here again. But this is life. This is just what I deal with.
Yeah, no, it's really great to have you back, mate. And Brandon, you were off sunning yourself in Puerto Rico, as you told us at the end of the last show. How was your holiday, mate? Did you have a good time? Lots of pina coladas, lots of hanging out with the family back in the motherland, as it was.
Brandon, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. No, it was a lot of fun. What was your question again?
Your holiday.
Fuck's sake. Off to a good start. This is a tribute. This is a tribute to Sid. Can we go again, Martin? Can we just
We're live,
can we just start this take again?
Great trip. We went to the west side of the island, Mayaguez, Cabo Rojo. It was fun. I highly recommend it. It's one of the most underappreciated places in the world. I went to 6 beaches in a span of 8 days, and I'm all beached out, but I had a great time. It was fun. Lots of good food, lots of fried food.
How was it hanging out with Logan Paul?
I did not see him, but we were on the white side of the island. A lot of people in the States have been buy up a lot of property over there, so it's kind of weird. The locals hate that shit, but I mean, it is what it is.
And you can drive around the circumference in like 2 hours or something, right?
Well, to get to the west side, it was like a 2-hour trip. We flew through. I think I was telling Martin this. We flew in through a tropical storm, and the plane was shaking, and it felt like the movie Terminal Velocity. Like I was scared for my life. Like I was just standing in my seat, like not saying a word, and then my sister's like needling me right next to me, like that. And I was like, dude, we may not survive. Well, why are you busting my balls now of all times? Like, come on, this is not funny. And she kept that needling me. It was, you know, that's what sisters are for. But siblings too. But yeah, I mean, so we drove from the airport across the island. It was like 2 hours in a tropical rainstorm, and you could see like it was pretty cool, like the clouds above the mountains. It felt like Jurassic Park. But yeah, it was a great trip. I had a lot of fun. Drunk every day.
Did you come back like all refreshed and rejuvenated, ready to take on the world then?
No, I came back tanned and burnt, and because I didn't put any type of sunscreen on all week, and it's a big mistake. But yeah, I couldn't wait to get back to work. I hate being idle. I can't. I get bored real quick. So it was good to get back. But it was fun. I can't wait to do it next year.
I couldn't wait to get back to work, Martin.
Yeah, it was weird. It's weird.
Oh
like
my
that.
God.
It's weird.
You're
I'm weird
literally
like
the
that,
only
man.
person I've ever heard say that.
Yeah, I like being out there, man.
You can be busy without like
read a book,
working for someone else, like doing someone else's dirty work.
Right, understandable. But I just like pounding the pavement, man. Like being out there with the people, pounding the flesh, like saying hello to every man, pissing on a corner without any provocation, being my own man, man. Love it.
Sorry. So UPS guys pissing on corners, is this part of the anyway, let's move on.
But UPS should have you as part of their, like, if they ever need to do a campaign to get more like employees, Brandon should be the spokesperson, shouldn't he? I mean, he's just so obsessed with working for the company. He doesn't even want to be on holiday. He doesn't want to be out enjoying himself. He just wants to be delivering packages.
How many commercials does it take to get a SAG card?
I'm surprised. I'm surprised you're in the union by the sounds of it. You'd sound like more of a union buster type of person.
No,
trying to convince people.
Love it. You can be a total lazy bum and still collect those. All right, I've said it.
Him and James Cameron, weren't they? They're off on a break, and he's like, "No, we should be working 14-hour days, no breaks." That's Brandon.
Listen, there's ways to finesse the system. Come on.
Right. Okay. Tell us about those.
I'm a grizzled young vet at that. But go ahead. Let's move on.
Are you gonna grit your teeth?
I am gonna grit my teeth.
Yeah, we'll leave that for after the show when you tell us.
Martin, how was your trip to All Out? We're all in.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. Loved it. Fantastic weekend, hanging out with all the lads. And it was great. I had a great time. I've not watched the show back, but I had a great time watching it live in the building. Yeah.
How was the food?
I didn't have any food at Wembley, but the food I had in London was cracking. Yeah.
Were you like? I'm sorry, Dickie. Were you like one of the few?
Richard using his government name now. Richard.
My bad. Were you one of the few that knew the area well enough that you could find a place to eat at that like it seemed like everybody struggled around in the area when they traveled to Wembley. Like they didn't know where to go.
Oh right, yeah, because it's kind of like I imagine it's the same in America when you go to these big stadiums and like literally every restaurant within a 5-mile radius is ram-packed full of people, sort of thing. But the hotel I was staying at had a massive breakfast buffet, so I did about 3 rounds on that, and then I don't know, I can't remember what else I had, but I got something before I went to the stadium itself. So yes,
and on the Mako Satomura scale, how was the breakfast at the hotel?
Oh yeah, it was cracking. Yeah, because obviously you just go up and it's a buffet and you just help yourself. So I just piled it high, full of stuff. Yeah, and it looked nothing like Mako Satomura's or Sasha's pathetic efforts. I actually saw that Red Pro were doing. Bringing like Leo Rush over and a bunch of CMLL guys, and I was going to message them and say, I see you're probably going to be on the show in Sheffield, so if you need anybody to advise you on where to go to breakfast, I'm your guy. So. Just want to throw that out there. Wrestlers, it's just a disgrace the amount of fucking these breakfast pictures we see. It just never gets any better. A fucking disgrace it is. Tony Khan as well could have booked out the bloody Savoy Grill, for people. But they're off going to Weatherspoons.
You're like the meme. What happened to the game I loved with the breakfast plates?
I've never seen that meme. You'll have to send it to me.
Mark Jackson's great. Whatever happened to the game I love?
I'll take your
what
word
is a proper English breakfast? It's not Sasha Banks, clearly. That's
it's just a big it's a big plateful. Whereas these ones you see from Sasha Banks and Mako are like just little scraggly bits of crap knocked about, and they've obviously gone to a chain. We all know you don't go to chains, Brandon. Would you advise me to go to a chain to get some pizza in New Jersey or New York? No, you wouldn't. You go to this place that's been open for 60 years, this family-run place or whatever. You know what I mean? Chains are fine when you live in the country. Yeah. I won't go to, what's it, Sparrows or whatever on Times
You don't
Square.
go to Sbarro's, no way.
Exactly. So when you
Gas
come to
station
England, you
pizza.
don't go to Weatherspoons. Yeah. There you go.
Let me just take you to a 7-Eleven, the American one, not the Japanese one.
What about you, Dickie? You've got a big AEW show coming up over
Right,
there.
man,
What are
you
you
must
going to
be
be
excited.
advising the wrestlers to eat and stuff like that over there?
Oh God, yeah, good question. Hungry Jacks, I guess.
What's that?
It's Burger King.
Oh, right.
I think though that like just the novelty of the fact that it's Burger King, but it's called something completely different, is kind of why people should go there, as opposed to anything to do with the food. I know Maddie B in the chat is fist pumping at this idea. His Hungry Jack's phenomenon. But aside from that, I mean, look, there's no such thing as Australian food. I don't know if you're aware of this. It's like
You're not eating
every
kangaroo meat or anything like that.
like I mean, I guess so. You were hard to find that in like being served somewhere. But I mean, it's kind of similar to the UK in the sense that, you know, I guess like we have a lot we I get have a lot of other cultures as part of our food.
Hmm.
But at least in the UK, there's kind of like a typical, like we've said, English breakfast, you know, English style pubs and all that sort of stuff. We have that here as part of Australian food, but there is no such thing as really like Australian food. So, you know, I think it's more like where I would just suggest people to go probably to get good food would just be like, I would suggest anybody coming around this area should go to South Bank. Beautiful area, nice places to eat, museums and all that sort of stuff as well. It's kind of the little sliver of culture that we have here in Brisbane. But I'm looking forward to the show.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to not having to travel. My wife allowed me to go because it is just down the road. Apart
Are
from
you gonna take
that,
your sons?
no, he's a little too young and would get bored pretty easy, and I would probably have to leave. So, you know, I'm assuming that this will be a yearly thing for AEW. No, I don't think it will be.
And what about white women? Where can you find them at?
I mean, Brandon, I think the question would be, where can't you find white women? That's not a problem in this country. But anyway, we have gone off the rails. Mum,
Indeed.
please.
Well, should we get it back on the rails? Because Mox is back. Guys, he returned last week on Dynamite, you know. First time seeing him since Forbidden Door, so he's been away for a couple of months. There was tons of speculation out there on the dark internet. You know, was he burnt out? Was he not liking? He was turning up and not liking whatever creative was giving him, because we've kind of seen him just come in, do matches, not really get his teeth into anything this year. You know, but he kind of went missing around the same time. Renee posted, you know, that he'd thrown his phone into a fire. So perhaps nobody's been able to get in contact with him. Who knows? Perhaps, you know, he's only just got a new phone. Who knows with Jon Moxley? And
are you saying he's been booked on every show, but he's just never turned up to catch his flights?
yeah, well, you never know. She posted another picture where I was scared that he was going to have another phone thrown into a fire, because Renee was posting a picture saying end of summer, and he was stood over another. They love their pit fires around at the Good household. So yeah, I was surprised he managed to save himself off from throwing another phone in the fire. So that could be it. Could be as simple as that no one could actually get in contact with him. He was out there in the wilderness of Nevada, and no one could get in contact with him. But anyway,
who's his friend that doesn't have a cell phone? What's his name?
Who?
He wrestled in a NXT, and he's big on. He's always on those GCW shows. I forget his name, but he has no cell phone, and people can't contact him either. He has like a flip phone or something. I forget the wrestler's name, but that's Moxley's good friend. I forget his name.
Oh, so they just text him if they want him on shows.
I don't know what they call him, a rotary phone. I forget his name.
Yeah. Send out a carrier pigeon.
He's one of the few people in America that has a landline.
What, you don't have a landline anymore, Brandon?
Well, no, he's one of the few. I don't have a landline. No, I have my
You don't
cell
have a landline? No, right over here in England, you've got to have a landline if you want internet from your provider. I don't know why.
Well, you have your regular internet provider, but I don't really have like a rotary phone. I don't have that. No. Do you?
Yeah, I've got an actual house phone. Yeah, nobody
Do
ever
you
calls
really?
it. I never use it. Yeah.
You have the Doctor Who's phone booth too?
You don't pay for that though, do you? Surely.
No, but you've got to have it as part of your thing. I don't know why. It's just a weird.
As part of your internet connection.
Yeah.
So it's a set design.
Yeah, it's a phone. I've never used it.
You have a doily underneath it.
Yeah, doily, and yeah, obviously, of course I do. And I sip my tea by it with my bowler hat every day. Yeah.
And the tea has a picture of the Queen on it, right?
Yeah. Then me and my wife sort of like, pay homage to the Queen before we leave every day and like kiss the photo. Oh, it's the King now. God, I'm so un-British. I can't even remember that our Queen died last year or whatever. So anyway, back onto Moxley. So he's made his return. That's all that matters now. He's back on Dynamite. A lot was made about his skinhead, but us guys already knew he'd shaved it off a few months ago. He's got that upside down head thing going on, hasn't he? Where he's got the beard on the bottom and the bald head on the top. And he had his New Japan music, Death Rider, got the green khaki pants, said he's been doing a lot of thinking. He wanted to have a conversation with Darby Allin, and then he ended with a promo saying, Tony Schiavone, listen to me. This is not your company anymore. And oh boy, lads, a lot was made of that last line, wasn't there? It's some Twitter thing was said that it was delivered very similar to how Russell Crowe sort of delivers it in the film Romper Stomper, a film I'd not thought about since I was about 15, which is the time I watched it. And Crowe obviously plays a neo-Nazi skinhead in that. And, we even had Brian Alvarez outright saying that, Mox's new character was based on the Crowe character from the film. And I mean, there's one thing delivering a line with intensity and similar to a line in the film, but saying it's completely based on a character is pretty wild. I mean, what are we doing here? I think, there was a lot of people up in arms on Twitter about something that wasn't actually there from the start. I don't know. You're from Australia, Dickie. I know you've not seen Romp Stomper. What did you make of all this controversy and things?
Okay, look, it's a tough one because I can see where he's coming from. Likening this film to American History X, say for instance, which I have seen, which it's a story about redemption, or turning, or learning your ways, or whatever. The main character ends up becoming the good guy, kind of thing. But I guess the problem is, if you haven't seen American History X, and I know we're not talking about American History X, but I think a lot more people have seen American History X than Romper Stomper. But they're very similar in terms of that main character is, like you said, neo-Nazi, and by the end of the film, he's kind of on a path of redemption. But if you've not seen American History X and you were to Google American History X, what do you think you'd see? Anyone?
Oh, this is a general question.
In a swastika, yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess the point is more that I support John's, he likes to sew in, films and other things from pop culture. We remember the Rocky III thing with CM Punk. And I applaud that. But at the same time, sometimes you might want to maybe just think about the wider audience out there. And it's okay if those people have seen the film because they understand. If they haven't seen the film, they're probably going to Google the film, and they're probably going to see things and make their own assumptions. And personally, I probably wouldn't have chosen this film just because of things like the iconography that you may see associated with it. Look, I messaged an Australian friend that tweet that was referenced in terms of, clipping the two things together, and clipping the film and Moxley's promo together. And even my Australian friend said, "Oh wow, that's kind of cool. Hopefully, like it's hopefully John Moxley isn't a Nazi right now." So like, I don't know whether he's seen the film or not, but that is like the immediate takeaway from it. Now, personally, I'm more interested about when Shane McMahon is turning up to run AEW Underground. That's all I care about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of it was blown up though, because like that line would have gone completely over people's heads until this sort of like film Twitter account was tagging Brian Alvarez and everybody in it. Yeah,
but man, someone was going to find it. Like it's not, you know what I mean. Like you cannot just AEW is big enough. Maybe I can do things on like Chop Tees and stuff that I go, no one's gonna know that I, was used inspiration from this random thing. Kind of thing, but this is AEW. Like, I mean, to assume that you're an idiot, and I don't think he thought that no one would know, but I just think he thought there's not a problem with it because it's that character is not in the end a bad guy, I guess.
What about you, Brandon? What were your thoughts on it all?
I thought it was weird watching it at first. I was like, what do we do? What's the angle? Like, because like I didn't. It was just like so weird. He just came out of nowhere and took away the mic from Tony Schiavone and his bad haircut, and he said, "This is not your company," which led to like speculation. Whose company is it? Is it Adam Copeland's? Is it Shane McMahon? Those were my thoughts. I was like, well, what are we doing here? Like it was bizarre. And his khakis. I love this music though. It came out to the real.
That's a banger theme. Yeah,
the badass banger.
Thank you. Finally, I think that's what we talked about, right? It was Tony Khan bought like they wanted the Wild Thing for the Revolution show, and then Tony Khan probably bought like 2 years worth of license, and I think it's finally expired now.
And like Wild Thing didn't really go with his oofus vibe of being I guess he's trying to be a heel now, or is he?
Well, yeah, it's not going to work now.
Is he a Shades of Grey baby face? I don't know. There's no heels and faces in that company. I don't know.
He said he liked Jack Perry on the latest episode of Dynamite, so I don't think he's a baby face.
Well, he might be a nice guy in real life. I mean, from what I gather, so he might really feel that way.
You know this. It's fake, right?
Of course.
Okay, just checking.
I mean, Eddie Guerrero thought it was real enough to chop Daniel Puder's pecs off. I mean, and that sport's fake, right?
What a reference. But yeah, it was about time he got rid of that. And
it was also Timothy Thatcher. That's the guy that doesn't have a phone. Okay.
Right. That doesn't surprise me that Thatcher doesn't have a phone.
But it was just bizarre. I didn't know what was going on, and I'm still oblivious to it. I'm still in the let him cook, and we'll wait and see what happens and transcribes in the next few weeks.
I think there was a lot of reaction to be like Shane McMahon. Is that? But
never.
But I did hear. What if it's Josh Barnett who's coming in?
Oh yeah, that could be. Yeah. What like Brandon, so in terms of what Josh Barnett or Shane McMahon is coming in as like a higher power who's Moxley's like his puppet? I don't. What's the thing there?
So the way, I mean, I guess I'm just putting kind of like these kind of blood sport connections together. Marina Shafir is his sort of second, right? And she's way more prominent on Bloodsport than she is on AEW TV.
I mean, you went to that show WrestleMania weekend too. Wasn't she on there, right?
And she was incredible. I much prefer this presentation of Marina Shafir because like seeing her at Bloodsport, like, I mean, it's hard on indie shows to be like to even really know too much of what's going on. Like almost every match you sit down and you're just like, I'm about to watch a match. I don't know what story or anything like that comes in. And she does a very, very good job of, all the things that you need from that perspective. In-ring kind of charisma, chemistry with her opponents. She really feels like an actual threat. She doesn't wear shoes when she wrestles, which will make a lot of people happy. She's in tremendous shape. She's in tremendous shape for a woman who's had at least one child. And I think this will be a great opportunity for her. And I think she deserves it. But I just feel like there's, when Mox gets in the ring and says to Tony Schiavone, this is not your company anymore. I feel like he's talking to Tony Khan through Tony Schiavone. And something about it just makes me feel like if you're going to Mox and you're saying, look, dude, what do you want to do? We want to make you happy. You can do whatever you want. Creative control on your character, blah, 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 blah. But you can't have the world title. Just what story or something that you want to do. And I think he kind of wants to maybe bring in some friends, that he can bring in. And like I said, brought in Marina, already in the company, obviously, but she's now, I don't think Tony Khan went, oh, Marina should be. I think there's a John Moxley call. So I feel like he's probably going to maybe look at saying, can I also bring in Josh Barnett? At least just for some, even not even maybe to wrestle, but just to be like the true mastermind behind it kind of thing. Because I don't think Moxley has the ego to say like, well, I want to be the mastermind. I want to be the top of this thing. I think he'd rather have something that's a more interesting story and that can maybe eventually be a big blow-off feud at a pay-per-view sometime if they do clash heads or something, a year down the line. They can actually, he can do John Moxley versus Josh Barnett, which I heard was incredibly good at that Bloodsport Bushido show. So
what if he saw what if he was like Tony Khan? Can I bring in Shane McMahon because I saw him improve as a striker at a Phil Nurse clinic?
That's a lie. But hopefully if he does, so Marina Shafir, yeah, great fit with Moxley, like you said, Dickie, and if it is Barnett, why don't we sort of end it there because we don't want any more of Mox's friends coming into AEW. Sami Callihan, do we? So yeah, hopefully that ends there.
Why not Sami Callihan as the hacker?
The what?
What's he done apart from eat Sami Callihan or 15 years ago?
Yeah, yeah. Well, is it
NXT
Revolver?
Yeah, but like, I mean, I'm sorry, man. I would still expect that to happen. I mean, as long as he's not like a problematic individual, like the new lead singer of Linkin Park, then I don't really have too much of a problem. If it keeps Moxley like happy and feel like it's something to do, like, wrestling just like Serpentico on a rampage or something, you know what I mean? Then I'm fine with him bringing some of his friends in, as long as they're not, of certain. I don't know. There's got to be people from WWE who are released that you do not want to see in AEW that Mox probably good mates with. But like, you know what else? Do you know what this faction needs?
Drake Works.
See, there's an example of someone who should not come in that is probably still kind of friendly with John Moxley. But do you know what
allegedly
this new kind of Bloodsport AEW underground faction, who this faction needs?
Almost.
that is a good friend of Jon Moxley that we've discussed many times on this podcast that should be removed or from where he is right now because of an amazing reaction that he had in the UK?
Who?
Big Bill.
Oh, yes. Definitely. That'd be fantastic.
I think that would be a perfect fit. I think
Yep.
Brian Keith is thriving in the Jericho Vortex. Brandon, what do you think? Yes?
According to who? Allegedly. According to who?
Well, it's a sarcasm because no one actually thrives in the Jericho Vortex,
No,
Brandon.
nobody does.
But yeah, I think that would be cool. But basically, just be like, okay, Jon Moxley, who are your friends, past, present, whatever? You want to have just a group of them. You can't have Daniel Bryan and Claudio because you just
Wheeler.
did that, so they have to stay there. I wouldn't even put Wheeler Yuta as one of his friends. They got sort of. I mean, he is now, but I mean, in terms of like if you read Jon Moxley's book, jokes from Claudio is all over this thing, so they go way back, stuff like that. But you can't have them because they've replaced you with some guy, some Geordie guy, the Pat Pool Combat Club. So yeah, I think that would be kind of cool.
Circling back to the Linkin Park thing, I was numb when I heard about that.
Boom, boom. Anyway, Brandon's here all night, everybody. So do we think that's what this is going to be then? A new faction? He seems to be coming out asking Darby to contact him or, do something for me. And, I assume this is all going to lead to him eventually challenging Danielson for a belt because it has been slightly annoying that Blackpool Combat Club were all over the latest episode of Dynamite and nobody mentioned that Moxley was there on the show and surely they're going to have some kind of angle where he leaves the Blackpool Combat Club, you would assume, Brandon.
They're doing it on purpose, right? Sorry, I know you threw to Brandon, but sorry. They're doing that on purpose, surely.
Go ahead.
No, that's it. Like, they're ignoring...
And then they form Blackpool Wolfpack, right?
Well, they're going to have the BCC in red instead of white. Is
or
that
the Sheffield Wolfpack or whatever. Name a factory town in England. That's full of hard men that they can use the team as.
Yeah. Blackpool Combat Club was always a terrible name for a faction. Yeah, I think if you wore if I wore a T-shirt saying Blackpool Combat Club on a Saturday night, I would be expecting to get beaten up. So so it's a terrible name.
What if you wore a T-shirt that said Black Pudding Combat Club on it?
I think that'd be more acceptable. Yeah,
you can get exclusively at chop-tees.com/Poison Rana. That would be a bit more acceptable. What if it was Mushy Peas Combat Club?
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, everyone would be high-fiving me if I had something like that. But yeah. So we think the main thing missing though, everyone focused on, that quote from Moxley that sounded like Russell Crowe. No one picked up on the one where he was backstage with those terrible actors when he said, "I shall not cast pearls before swine." When he was asked, "Oh, what's happening here, Moxley?" which is a quote from the Bible, which apparently means you won't share your wisdom with people undeserving of it. And I was like, "Oh, that's a killer quote." I'm not, on religion, but
Jesus
but, yeah.
Not as popular as Russell Crowe, unfortunately.
Yeah, apparently not. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see where we go with this. What do you think the Darby Allin thing is? He's going to try and bring him into the faction, or it's going to be a feud, or what would you think the whole Darby Allin thing? What we're getting off that?
Yeah,
anybody?
It's kind of interesting because I got the feeling like he was going to join, or Moxley's trying to recruit, let's say, but he would have to be a heel, which Darby has not been in his entire career in AEW, and he is extremely popular. And it might be very difficult to do that. So maybe it's just a first feud, trying to recruit. He says no or something. But I feel like Darby would be the kind of, like seeing Darby at a Bloodsport would be kind of crazy. I don't know if it would be good, but
It's definitely going to be interesting where we go with this thing. But I suppose before we move on, any last thoughts on Moxley and AEW, Brandon? Before we move on,
Yeah, I just hope he finds his voice, his footing. Hope he's like Dickie said, he's motivated and feels good about himself, and doesn't make the locker room feel uncomfortable because he's a big brooding man because he's miserable. I hope none of that's true. I hope he's in good spirits. And Marina, circling back, when I saw her at in Newark 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Probably. She looked great as a cholo girl. That woman's
Yeah,
incredible.
that's right. With Nyla Rose or something, and
Yeah,
Vicky
she was in that
Guerrero.
faction. Yeah, they came out with low riders and stuff like that. But yeah, I hope it works out for her too. I hope she doesn't use that hat angle that she had. Whatever. What was that? Or wasn't she dancing in overalls too? Doing the jig or something like that? I don't remember.
oh my
But
god,
I don't know,
no, yeah, we
mate.
don't want
No
any of
one,
that. No.
no one watches Rampage except you, so we don't know.
Yeah.
I hope she finds
Yeah.
her voice too, because she's married to a talented wrestler. I hope it all works out.
Well, we're getting too modern on this show, aren't we? Because it's time. It's time now to spin the clock back 10 years, 10 whole years, and in sort of a direct continuation of the last show where we talked the Shield versus Evolution, we're now moving on to the destruction of the Shield. And quickly, I know, Dickie, this was just before you started watching wrestling again, but Brandon, memories of this happening at the time, I seem to remember it was like a massive deal. Obviously, everyone was up in arms at what everyone was doing with Daniel Bryan. And there was all this, everyone still actually cared about, because WWE was the only sort of game in town, weren't they? And everyone was like, oh my God, what are they doing with Daniel Bryan? But this seemed to be like a big angle that people sort of enjoyed, when WWE wasn't so great.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, people were so focused on that, but like, was there really that much going on in that company? Like, watching back, it just. I can't believe this company survived that during this era of wrestling. It was so boring, right? It was just so bizarre how I mean, not bizarre, but it was just like they were so hyper focused on that, like wrestling fans, like, oh, we got to protect patron saint Daniel Bryan, great worker and whatnot, but he's got to get over for the little man. But it was definitely bizarre.
It was, but apparently, before we get into the actual turn itself, I was doing a bit of research, and there were alternative plans for the Shield to disband. According to one Seth Rollins, he was on the Broken Skull sessions back in 2021, and they had actually wanted them to break up in January and do Ambrose against Roman at WrestleMania 30, with Rollins himself saying, "Oh, I guess I'd be left out or used as a special referee." And so Rollins said they all went to Hunter and made him change his mind, and then it wasn't mentioned again until after the second Evolution match, and they just pulled him aside at Raw and went, tonight's the night, we're going to do it tonight. And sidebar, that is a good episode of irrelevant of what you think about Seth Rollins, that is a good episode of the Broken Skull sessions. I recommend it. But I mean, thoughts on that? Could they have done it sooner? I mean, clearly Rollins didn't want to be left out, so you could see him being the charging force behind. No way, you two guys are going to have a big match at WrestleMania 30, and I'm just going to be left here twiddling my thumbs with it just being Roman and Dean. I mean, do you think they did it too soon, Dickie, or do you think they left it just enough time to break them up?
I don't know, Martin. You said I wasn't watching during this time. What the fuck would I know?
Yeah.
No, I guess well, I do know that, like, especially watching through a lot of the stuff at the moment, Daniel Bryan is injured at this point. He just won the titles. I don't want to say just, but this is June, and I guess in April he won the titles at WrestleMania 30. Because the Money in the Bank match was to crown the new undisputed champion, right? That was sort of what was set up. So I guess, like, it was almost like they had to start making plans to. So I don't think they should have done it earlier, but I don't think they should have done it any later. This was probably the perfect time. Big Dave, he has to go to another. He's got to go back to his home planet of Hollywood. and I guess they just had to have a look around, and they just sort of made sense. They moved some parts around, and it was like Seth should be out of this and basically replace Dave. Randy is the replace. He's going to be the challenger, even though he doesn't win the. I'm assuming he doesn't win the belts. That John Cena wins the belts or whatever. And that's just kind of that night, like you said, they pulled them aside that night and just went, tonight's the night, because it was kind of like, yeah, you're gonna have to go in a direction now, because the current one with Daniel Bryan just being on the shelf isn't really working.
And also, it looked like they weren't doing a great deal with Daniel Bryan anyway, because it's not the guy that they wanted. But I suppose moving into the show itself, we're at Raw on the 2nd of June 2014. Like I said, a direct continuation from the last episode with the Shield against Evolution. And so Raw after Extreme Rules, it's in Indianapolis, Indiana. Is that somewhere you've been, Brandon? Indianapolis, did I pronounce that correctly?
I've never been to Indiana before. I do know it's very controversial state for many reasons that I don't want to bring up on the air. But if you quote Joe Rogan, do your research, you'll understand the complexities of that state and the institution of the government. But I digress. No, I've never been to Indiana.
What's their big college team? Is that the
Indiana Hoosiers? Yes.
Yeah. Have you not got a hoodie of them? Just the Ohio State one.
What's that?
Have you not got a hoodie of the Hoosiers?
No. I'm not a big fan of Indiana. It's
no. No.
You don't say.
It's a good dentist school. It's a good dental school. Like, I highly recommend that. Like,
a good dental school.
Oh yeah. A lot of famous.
What a scathing, damning indictment of Indianapolis is happening on this random podcast about.
Well, they have the NFL Combine there. So
Did you say it's home to famous dentists? What, like Isaac Yankem? Who else is a famous dentist?
I mean, Britt Baker and Isaac Yankem would be the two, I guess.
Yeah. Any more, Brandon? Top 5 dentists?
George Washington. He had wooden teeth.
Well, just because you have wooden teeth doesn't mean that you are a dentist. Typically, a dentist gives you the wooden teeth.
You don't think he did the work himself while walking his men and his Minutemen and into the cold snow looking for?
I have great hair right now, Brandon. Do you think I'm a barber or something? Or
well, tried to find the redcoats. Remember that, Martin?
Oh yeah, lived through it, Brandon. I'm that old. I
never
was fighting off George Washington, back in the day. Apparently, according to Chris Leone in the chat, thanks for joining us tonight, Chris.
What a coward! He shows up for this, but not for the movie.
Well, not for the episode we invited him on. Yeah, coward. There's a lot of milk there, so perhaps that's why people have got great teeth in the state of Indiana. So.
That is not what he means, but we should probably move on.
So, opening the show, we've got Triple H. Says that everyone thinks the Shield won, and he just doesn't get it. He says it won't be over until the Shield no longer exists. Batista says he's done with the Shield. He's like, Hunter, why do you keep going back to the Shield? I'm done with them. I want my shot at Daniel Bryan. And Triple H says he can't do that, and nobody currently is getting what they want until the Shield have been destroyed. So Batista goes, waves bye-bye to him, and says, fine, I quit. Which was obviously not the original plan, but apparently there was some legit creative differences behind the scenes, and Batista was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm getting paid more to be a Hollywood actor, so I'll just go off. And then wasn't the story that he wanted to come back in the summer and promote Guardians of the Galaxy, and they were like, oh, well, we don't know if that's going to be a big film or not. And he was like, it's a film in the Marvel Universe, which is huge. And they were like, well, we don't know. It's a bit on the fringes of that, isn't it? We don't know, so we're not interested.
Just like Damian Priest was going to be Namor, right?
Like, that just sums WWE up to a hilt, doesn't it? That they just haven't got the finger on the pulse, especially when Big Vince was around. So, moving past
Mandalorian. Sasha and Mandalorian, Star Wars. Is it really like? Is Star Wars really that popular? Like, Vince probably remembers Star Wars as just that geek thing that like when we were kids. Like I was into Star Wars when I was when I was a kid, but it was like, it was kind of frowned upon. It was kind of like you were kind of like the geek sort of thing. And now you grow up and it's just like everywhere, and it's just this accepted thing. But Vince is probably still back in that mindset. Like even with probably Marvel stuff, it's like comics. What?
Yep. Have you ever seen a man hate his audience more? He probably hated everyone that bought WWE action figures as well, and like.
Well, I mean, I for some reason was watching SmackDown from 2005 recently, and
why?
You'll have to ask Eric Marcotte,
right?
And Brandon was there as well. So anyway, but I mean, the commentary, Michael Cole's commentary, is so literally like Vince in the back saying, Michael, our audience are stupid. Okay, they are so dumb. They do not understand what's going on. You have to explain, over-explain, over and over, like hammer home exactly everything that's happening. It's one thing to commentate a match, but when you commentate someone's promo in that style, good Lord. Like and that was the Vince era, right? Like we were dummies. We didn't get it. And we never remembered what happened last week and all this sort of shit. I have no idea why we're talking about this now, but that just, you reminded me of that.
Well, it's because I've forced you to watch a lot of 2014 WWE recently, so it's all coming back to you. It's like a.
Can we talk about this? I know we're going to talk about this whole thing, but like, I mean, I want to pull the curtain back a little bit, just a little bit. I think people have heard from multiple other individuals who have done podcasts with Martin that he is an extremely prepared individual. He does a lot of research and he makes our lives very easy, Brandon. Okay, because he just sends us the things. Here's the things you need to watch, etc., etc. Okay, right, and it's usually like, great, no problems. I load up this playlist, right? What? Okay, I get it. I understand the reasons why they were all in there, because they were pertinent to the feud. But it's just like, it just loads up and it's like Dean Ambrose versus Bad News Barrett. I'm like, why am I watching this? Like, holy shit. So yeah, this most recent playlist, I did kind of question. This is like, do I even really like wrestling anymore? Because I just like don't know why I'm doing this. But there is something about, it's weird. It's something like this weird convergence for me, because this is just before I started watching again. But I couldn't have any less interest in the product at this point, even though if it was a year later, I'd be able to. I'd probably be nostalgic, I guess, in some ways.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, there's a bit of a slog. I suppose I should do one playlist for me because I have to watch everything, and then one playlist for you guys. I'll do that next time. I'm just
because like I said, it was pertinent, especially with the fact that all the times that Seth interrupted, it caused Dean to lose, and every time Dean interrupted, it was a DQ, so Seth won.
The WWE formula of distraction.
Poor cunt, man. Just like you can eat shit every time, that's fine, but Seth's got to keep his heat.
Yeah, well, that was the thing, and Brendan's mentioned this a few times when we have looked back at this time period, that like months in between pay-per-views, it's just Raw and SmackDown has just got the same match on it every single week. Yeah. But anyway, let's get to the main angle. So later in the show, the Shield are out gloating because they beat Evolution twice in a row. Ambrose says that's what you call domination. And Rollins says Evolution perished because they weren't one like the Shield. And then Roman chimes in and says the Shield are brothers. And calls out Randy Orton. Roman has a weird obsession with Randy Orton around this period. And as Randy and Triple H make their entrance, Rollins jumps out to grab a chair, and you assume, well, he's grabbing that because Triple H is out and they're going to whack him with the chair. And Triple H says there is no plan B as Seth nails Roman in the back with the chair. And we get Dean Ambrose turning around looking shocked, his best shocked face, and then Rollins nails him.
That chair shot was horrible, dude.
It was brutal. But he twats him some more with the chair. The crowd chants "You sold out," apart from one guy in the front rows like cheering Rollins on. What a heel.
I bought it.
Yep. And Ambrose tries to get up, but then gets curb stomped into the chair. Rollins stands with Evolution, hands the chair to Orton, and they work Roman over with it. They strip Roman off and just like start working him over with this chair, and then they do the typical WWE thing where Rollins, Triple H, and Orton stand over Ambrose and Reigns. And as an angle, it seemed to be over with the crowd at the time, but sort of like watching this back now, Brandon, what are your thoughts on the angle? Did you think they pulled it off well? It seemed to be a shock for the audience when you watch it, especially there's some guy in the crowd going, no, and then plenty of screaming and stuff like that. So it seemed to work as an angle for this audience watching.
You forgot the million camera cuts too with the chair shots too.
I think that just goes without saying, doesn't it?
I don't think anyone's ever forgotten about the million camera cuts.
Death by 1,000 camera cuts from Kevin Dunn. Yeah, I mean, when it happened, I guess I was shocked. I don't remember 2015 me being shocked, but I mean, reading ahead, I don't mind spoilers, but they were kind of alluding to they were breaking up or whatever, right? So, I mean, and then watching it, I was like, I mean.
Well, no, they weren't. We already discussed before that they found out on the night they were breaking up, so nobody could have possibly known they were breaking up.
Yeah, I guess you're right, but I wasn't shocked. I mean, how long do these real factions last in WWE? Like Vince makeups to breakups to the breaking them up. What, a year and a half, 2 years? Well, how long did they go? 3 years? They were a long time.
Yeah, about 2 years. Yeah.
So, I mean, this was the time period, which I think had been going on for like 10 years already, but of the hodgepodge tag teams that were put together of random people for the entire sole purpose that you could then just in a few weeks have a feud between those two people.
So it was like an Animal, right?
That's right, Heidenreich and Animal.
Yep.
The new LOD. 2005.
What about you, Dickie? I'm assuming is this the first time you watched this as a thing? How did it?
Well, I mean, I've seen this clip, like ad nauseum. So I was just like, but I guess I looked at little things like how Dean and Roman stepped forward. I like this concept that they stepped forward to like step to Randy and Triple H, and Seth stood still so that he could then be behind to do the chair shot, as opposed to what we see a lot of, which is when these kind of turns happen, that they are the ones who step backwards and then you go, oh, he's going to turn. So I kind of think they did that part somewhat well. But yeah, I don't know. It was the, thing, curb stomp on the chair.
So we move on to the SmackDown on June the 6th in Cincinnati, Ohio. Is that remind me, Brandon, is that the biggest city in Ohio, Cincinnati?
I mean, Cleveland's the big city, but Cincinnati's a close second on the other side of the state. Good chili, Skyline chili, recommend it. Great. Oktoberfest, also great there too. That was the place where I got absolutely hammered at for a wedding, and I puked at the Masonic Temple floor. Yeah. So,
what do you like?
I just left.
And what is their biggest college?
University of Cincinnati.
No, of Ohio.
Ohio State, yeah, clearly.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Oh, you're wearing a hoodie for
right? Yeah, for audio listeners, Brandon's wearing an Ohio State hoodie. Big fan.
Chris Leone in the chat says you're wearing an Ohio State hoodie and you don't know Columbus is the biggest city.
Again, Leone opining today. He clearly has a big heart on for targeting me right now. So,
did he put?
I digress.
Did he put dark chocolate in the chili in Cincinnati?
What's that?
Did he put dark chocolate in their chili in
I mean, if you
Cincinnati?
could request it, sure, you can get it. You get the dark
Right.
chocolate in the chili. Also good.
I'd never heard this before until anyway. So yeah,
I,
Rollins is
I,
out.
I highly recommend going there, Martin, with your wife and having a great time.
Right, what's the to do there?
Just hang out in the city, cross the bridge to go to Kentucky. It's good stuff.
You're not right. All right, so
Brandon is a terrible tour guide, by the way.
Yeah.
I've literally experienced this. So
I'll go to Columbus instead. Then it sounds like there's more to do there.
Yes. Ask Leote about Columbus and what he committed the crime there. He'll tell you all about that day.
Oh wow! Yeah, I can't wait to hear that one. Anyway, so yeah, we have the SmackDown. Rollins is out with Triple H, and Triple H hops on for a bit, and Seth says, the only person who needs to know why he did that is himself. So we don't get any explanation. We randomly get Dolph Ziggler in and out, and he says he's never liked the Shield, but he respected them. But what Seth has done has turned his back on his brothers, and Triple H sets up a match between them, and Seth, wins. So no explanation from Seth, a bit flat there. Then we jump
because he's from Ohio. Clearly, we gotta get.
I think that's really nice of Dolph Ziggler to rep his brother Ryan Nemeth. In terms, you never turn your back on your brother, just like him. It brings him to the Tokyo Dome and everything, So brothers for life.
I know.
Hey man, that's a good brother if he's getting you work. Respect.
Yeah. Not the Spirit Squad though. Those brothers they got thrown in a crate.
Well, one of them's still there. He's an agent. He died by the Wyatt Six. Remember?
So we jump into the next Raw is in Minneapolis, Minnesota, home of Jesse Ventura, and the Shield come out, absolutely destroy the three-man band of Drew McIntyre, Heath Slater, and Jinder Mahal. How things have changed for Drew McIntyre, not so much for Heath Slater. Well, when he was like Vince's chosen one as well. Wow. So yeah, after the squash, Ambrose says, the Shield were untouchable. He said they weren't healthy and they had a cancer inside them. That's what's a big thing about WWE. They're always talking about cancers inside things, weren't they?
Susan G. Corman, right?
Yep. I don't think that's quite what they meant.
They got rid of that cancer too, right?
Yeah. And the cancer was called Seth Rollins, and he said he's going to rearrange his nose, rip his hair out, and push it down his throat. This is when we start getting the the lunatic Ambrose, and it's still a bit cringy to watch it back now. And he says he wants to hear Triple H's words coming out of Seth's mouth and then beat the hell out of him. And Roman goes, yeah. Anyway, Randy Orton, this massive things happened, brothers for life, and what a disgrace. And Roman seems to have moved on to other things already. He's like, yeah, I'll let you mid-carders feud in the mid-card. I'm going on to the belt. And I'd totally forgotten that Roman, was sort of involved a tiny bit, but, this is supposed to be this huge betrayal. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And we've already moved on to the Ambrose promos where, he's doing the crazy eyes thing and everything, Dickie.
That we have. I still prefer this version of Dean Ambrose, crazy lunatic Dean Ambrose, than what it would eventually become. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean gas mask, even just like in the middle of it with the, he's still wearing like leather jacket. He still kind of looked, he didn't look too departed from the Shield at this point. He looked like he was still, that same Dean Ambrose, but like you skip forward 2 years and he's just like wacky, crazy Dean Ambrose wearing an oversized cowboy hat. Woohoo! So
he wasn't wearing the Bane leather coat yet. He was the thin leather coat, like the thin Harley Davidson biker jacket that you could put a hoodie over. A leather coat type of face of Dean Ambrose, which was fun.
His trajectory from this point onwards it should be studied in wrestling schools, just for what happened.
Like Vince didn't know what he was doing with certain people. Makes you.
Yeah. later in the show, Seth comes out for an interview with Michael Cole. He's in his new gear now. He's got his black suit, and then he's got his new theme, which was the original sort of Burn It Down theme, the riff of it without the burn it down screaming over it, just the music. And he basically says he did what's best for business. He throws out, I was the architect of the Shield. He destroyed his own creation. I mean, at this point, I'm surprised CM Punk weren't running out here going, hang on, mate, don't take credit for it. We all know that I created the Shield. And he says they're nothing without him. I know him all the success they achieved, and says people shouldn't be surprised, and that he learned to be a success. You've got to evolve. And he brought in the evolution of Seth Rollins. Says they weren't brothers; they were just business partners. Must have hit like a dagger for the lads there.
Bars.
Just business partners. I know. Yep. So yeah, jump in a week. Sorry, Dickie.
I mean, you can have pretty great relationships with business partners. I'm not really sure that Sam, that wasn't like a. I mean, I don't know. I prefer. Sometimes I prefer people I work with than my own family. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. But anyway,
right?
Yeah, sure. Some other people are in that same boat. But jump in a week or so, and then. This is kind of what we were talking about earlier. This is kind of like when we get into this, mix up of we're just getting the same matches on Raw and SmackDown leading into the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So like we get Rollins and Ambrose interfering in each other's matches. First we see, this is the first time we see Dean wrestling in a black tank top and jeans and not the Shield gear, and then obviously. He debuts his new music with the the music that he used. That's it. This is the music that he used in WWE till he left. And then, Rollins has kind of got a weird variation on the Shield gear. It's more like a pleather top, but Ambrose goes for a completely different look here with jeans and a tank top. So,
everyone's got new gear except for Roman.
Yeah.
The best thing, and wouldn't for a very long time. Incredible.
Yeah, we are straight away here, aren't they? They're trying to differentiate themselves. They're like, right, the Shield is completely done now. Didn't hang around. Still wearing the old gear, new gear, and new music straight away. Brandon.
Yeah, he had the gold. He had the gold scarab sometimes too, and the jerk off fist too. He had that. I mean, at least Roman changed his logo now to him jumping in the air now, like he's Air Jordan. Which is I dig it, but yeah, come on, Roman. I was so frustrated. Like I remember Leilaki, he had a suit and an FCW, and he had more gear. He had like one gear where he was just wearing the low trunks. Like he looked like a beast, man. But yeah, this gear was just annoying, dude. Everybody else gets new gear, but Roman Reigns has to wear the freaking he is the Shield.
I didn't even change his music.
Yeah, he just co-opted the Shield music too.
all he got was new teeth.
Yeah,
that is now synonymous with booze as well, isn't it? That Shield music is now synonymous with people.
Synonymous with booze. So when he turned heel, they gave him new music.
And he got those new white chompers from an Indiana dentist too. So,
of course, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All the which famous dentist do you think he went to, Brandon?
I think Yanko.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely didn't go to him.
I like that one.
He's all over this episode.
Oh yes, Mayor Kane is all up in this.
Oh God. So obviously coming up at the pay-per-view, they've got 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches. One being for the vacant WWE Championship. Daniel Bryan was injured, so they did some like BS about stripping him of the belt. And then obviously Roman's entered into that, the more important match. And then we get the second one for the regular Money in the Bank briefcase. And Seth's entered into this by Triple H, obviously, by association with Triple H. And Ambrose sort of loses a few qualification matches as Seth interferes. Then there's, like we said, a lot of filler on Raw and SmackDown leading into the pay-per-view. With them interfering in each other's matches until eventually Seth just goes backstage and says, Triple H, please put Ambrose in the match so I can keep an eye on him. And so he's not, got to interfere in the match. So we do finally get there. June 29th, 2014. Money in the Bank at the TD Garden in Boston. Is this where the Celtics play, I'm assuming, Brandon? The TD Garden.
Is the home of the Boston Celtics and the Boston Bruins. Beautiful facility. Great city, too. You get some good soups of the day out there, and crab cakes and whatnot. Lots of people with weird accents, too, in that area. So I think.
Sorry, Martin, just quickly. Are we not going to talk about Dean Ambrose versus Bad News Barrett or what? Why did you make me watch that? What the fuck?
Get some winds of change in your life, Martin. Come on.
That was the that was the sort of background. You didn't, Like I said, next time I'll do to me. Yeah.
Wow. Anyway.
Well, no, the floor is yours, Dickie. I mean, obviously, you really want to talk about this bad news. Exactly.
And then Jack Swagger came down, banging music, love it, and went to attack Dean Ambrose, and then attacked Bad News Barrett, and I just thought, this is money. What happened with that feud? You know what I mean? But
exactly, that feud that was lost to time. What is it about Jack Swagger's music that you like so much, Dickie?
Jack too.
We'll have to do a music episode part 2 of just other people's music. It's. I feel like it's got a lot of percussion. I like that.
Rage Against the Machine ripoff.
Well, I mean, yeah. I didn't know that, Brandon, but I assume all music is inspired by other music. But yeah.
Good. Well, I'm glad you got that off your chest about the Bad News Barrett match.
Can't wait to talk about Dean Ambrose versus Rob Van Dam.
Yeah. Oh, what a banger that was. It was, yeah. But anyway, Money in the Bank. So we got Ambrose, Rollins, Ziggler, RVD, Kofi Kingston, and Jack Swagger. And was it Zeb Coulter at ringside? With Jack, he was doing the whole thing with Jack Swagger at the time. So yeah, ladder match for the Money in the Bank briefcase. I mean, what's funny about this one? We've got countless Money in the Bank ladder matches, and this always ranks highly when you see the best of Money in the Bank matches, usually in the top 5. If you're into star ratings, Big Dave Meltzer gave this one a 4.5. If star ratings are your thing. And a lot of these Money in the Bank matches sort of roll in together, and I'd completely forgotten about this one. And obviously the Ambrose Rollins feud is the focus of the match, and they do an injury angle halfway through the match with Ambrose apparently, needing he pops his shoulder out and he needs it popping back in, and the doctor's like, I can't do it here. I can't do it ringside. I've got to take you backstage. So he takes him backstage. I didn't know that he couldn't do it at ringside. So
how much is that match with inflation? The star rate.
The Meltzer star. I'm not sure.
2.5.
Perhaps it'd be a 7.5 these days with the scale.
Yeah, but I don't think it would be a 7.5.
No.
It was fine. It wasn't. Those are reserved for Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson, and Okada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
was that Chris Jericho match worth the 4-star match at Wembley?
I missed it. I was doing other things. So he goes to the back, only to come back out towards the end for a monster pop, stopping Seth from grabbing the case. And then it looks like Dean's gonna win before Kane. That man Isaac Yankem. Kane interferes and takes Ambrose out, and Rollins gets the briefcase and gets the win, thanks to obviously the association with Triple H, because Kane was part of the whole authority at the time. But the rest of the match for me had some great stunts. Crowds hot from the off, which you weren't quite getting around this time. You weren't getting hot crowds at all these things, especially as we all saw last month with the Evolution matches. I mean, the crowd wasn't that hot for a lot of that stuff.
You would have thought you were at Cork and Hall, man. So quiet.
I know, especially when they announced Evolution were reforming and to crickets. But everyone does get time in this match. RVD takes a massive powerbomb off the top of the ladder from Swagger, and Ambrose suplexes Seth off the top of the Jeff Hardy size ladder. sick bump.
Not those
Seth-
British ladders, right?
No, I mean, they were pathetic, weren't they? I don't know where they got them. B&Q or some British DIY store. Our house is on that tall. We don't need a Jeff Hardy ladder. But anyway, so Seth takes, big back bump off the top of the ladder onto another ladder, which is quite sick. And, there is a lot to rag on fairly about WWE in 2014, and a lot of it's a slog to get through. But I was watching this, and I had a right good time. I thought it was a banger in a match. Really enjoyed it. Like I said, a lot of these fold in together, but I thought this was one of the good ones, and really enjoyed the pop when Ambrose came back out. And yeah, I had a really good time with this match, Dickie.
So before
Not
we went
so
on the
much.
air, right? Oh, wait, what?
No, you didn't enjoy this one as much as me?
Oh, look, before we went on the air, I said to Martin and Brandon, I was like, look, for some reason, I watched through all the stuff, and I just didn't really have much in the way of notes, whether they're funny things or whatever. This match was good, was very good. But I mean, I just kind of, I don't know if I was just a bit, maybe just taking last month off, I feel a bit behind. But Martin, luckily, you don't need to hear my thoughts.
Oh, yes.
We'll have Jon Moxley himself, through me, tell you what he thought. Money in the Bank, 2014, TD Garden, Boston. First of all, apologize if I lose my voice or have to cough in the middle of this. I'm a little sick. But anyway. Seth Rollins, who recently turned to the dark side, turning his back on his Shield brothers and breaking the hearts of fans worldwide, is a red-hot heel, aligned with Triple H's authority. He's only a few steps away from climbing the ladder and retrieving the Money in the Bank briefcase and a guaranteed shot at the championship at any time, any place. A virtual golden ticket to the top of the industry. I watch from Gorilla. I've been removed from the match by medical personnel. An innocuous moment meant to look like a legit shoulder injury. Oh, kayfabe. The crowd booed like a motherfucker as I furiously walked to the back, escorted by officials. A good sign, but that was the easy part. Now would come the test. The next few moments would decide my fate. I knew that. Somehow I've become this good guy. Dean Ambrose, the unlikeliest of heroes, emerges from the curtain and races down the aisle to stop the villain from getting his hands on the prize. The crowd goes nuts. Thwack! I nail him in the back with a chair, and he falls off the ladder to the canvas. I proceed to beat the fuck out of him with a steel chair, which always sucks no matter how much you slice it. Exactly like he'd done to me on the night he went evil. The crowd roars with approval. They feel a certain catharsis. I look up to the sky. The money in the beefcake, the money in the bank briefcase dangles above, tantalizing. The noise grows. I begin to climb the ladder, fighting through pain with every step. The volume around me is deafening as I near the top. As I touch the briefcase with my fingertips, I can hear myself think. Then boom, the pyro goes off. The first notes of a classic music signaling the arrival of Kane, an agent of destruction retained by the authority. The briefcase is swinging in circles now. I frantically try to get my hands on it, but I can feel Kane's presence closing the distance. The fix is in. The crowd in Boston is pissed. Kane grabs my leg to yank me off the ladder, but I kick myself free, refusing to be denied. I dig deep, fighting off the movie monster with everything I have left. I make one last desperate scramble up. It's not over yet. I hear the high-pitched screams of girls in the crowd. You did hear a lot of these throughout this whole feud. I dig deep, pleading. I hear the high-pitched screams of the girls in the crowd pleading with me to climb. It's pandemonium. the monster finally overtakes me as he inevitably would, delivering a choke slam and a tombstone that puts me away, clearing the path for Seth Rollins to ascend the ladder and claim the prize. The whole piece of business was incredibly exciting, and the heat is monstrous. The fans really wanted me to grab that damn briefcase, and that's the important thing. That's what I needed. What the fans screaming obscenities at the bad guy and the teenage girls fighting back tears might not have realized at the time was that while I didn't grab the briefcase, I gained something so much more. I'm becoming fully entrenched as a scorned babyface with the fans firmly behind me as the story continues. I love storytelling. This night couldn't have worked out better for Seth or me. The one thing I knew without a doubt, when the time was right, I would get my revenge on the bad guys, acting as a proxy for those fans. We would get our revenge together, our big victory. The Death Star would blow up. One night would be our night. Only problem is, that night never really came, just as my voice is starting to go. That was it.
Oh,
and Brandon's had a wardrobe change.
Yeah. It's nice. What a diva. It's nice to hear that he sort of like looks back on this fondly. And yeah, I completely agree with him about the heat in the crowd and everything. Yeah, and they were really popular. Like you said, they were extremely popular with the ladies. I remember
the catcalls.
A WWE house show, and I was on. It was at Sheffield Arena. I'd not gone to the show. I was on some public transport after, and a load of people got on. It was full of a lot of young ladies wearing DA, that Anarchy DA t-shirt from Dean Ambrose. So I was like, wow, he's really popular with the ladies. But yeah, it's nice to hear that he was. He looks back on fondly on this match.
Oh, he had his plan B when with the ladies back then before Renee Paquette. Let me tell you.
Good lord.
Have you got the inside track into that, Brandon?
He's talked about this with Renee, and Renee's just like, dude, I don't want to hear about basically all the women you fucked before me.
Yeah. Yeah, she does not. Yeah. So that's oversharing there, John. In the main event, Cena wins the vacant WWE Heavyweight Championship because we've got a bit of a, before we sort of wrap this thing up, we've got a bit of an aftermath because Rollins does attempt to cash in on Cena the next night on Raw after Cena's unconscious following a match with Kane because it's so hot. I mean, we saw these superhuman comebacks that John Cena did, but not against Kane. He was like virtually dead after this match. But Ambrose comes out and brawls with Seth into the crowd, and then Reigns also comes out, takes Kane out, and I think we'll end it there because obviously Ambrose and Rollins feud into the summer and beyond, and that's like a whole, big chapter of their feud at the Ab, and we'll probably discuss that on a future episode. And yeah, Roman doesn't really feature on that because obviously he's gone into a feud with and then just I suppose in conclusion, like I said before, I didn't quite remember how uninvolved Roman was. He just going his own path and going for the WWE title pretty much as soon as Seth betrayed them. But we discussed how we felt about the breakup. It kind of felt around the right time. You don't want these factions to last too long, do you? Like the NWO and things like that. And I know they did make a couple of comebacks, but these things can last too long. And I think it was about the right time to break them up. And certainly WWE needed some bigger angles with Daniel Bryan being out for the foreseeable. They can only rely on those workhorses, Kane and Randy Orton, for so long, can't they? But it's funny hearing Seth and Roman talk about it in interviews because I kind of wanted to keep it going for a bit longer, but I feel like it's like, how long would you have kept it going? Maybe till Survivor Series they wanted it, but I think this was about the right time. But this is a show all about Jon Moxley, and how do you feel like Dean Ambrose came out of this one? He went into the big feud with Seth as Roman went on to other things, and the angle of Seth turning on them is remembered fondly by fans. Like Dickie said there, he wasn't watching wrestling at the time and he's seen this angle over and over again. So it's like, it's gone down as quite a big angle. But as far as Ambrose goes, I feel like him and Seth had some good stuff, but then obviously we have the WWE title run that didn't quite go how he wanted. So I think it's fair to say the Shield stuff was the best we got of Ambrose in WWE, Brandon.
Yeah, because I mean, after they break up, like what he's got he's got the U.S. title, right? And he's he's champion for like a minute, but you almost felt like they weren't really fully behind him, like
no.
And I mean, he's a big dude. I mean, he fits their prototype, right? And I'm not missing anything, right? Like he's a pretty creative guy.
He doesn't look like a big dude,
but he's a big dude, though.
He is, but compared to, it's one of those things. It's like the land of the giants. You stand next to Randy Orton and, Jesus Christ.
But it's like the company wasn't really fully invested in him. They're more invested in Rollins and I mean, obviously Roman Reigns. So it was kind of disappointing that they didn't really give him the rock for a little bit and let his creative juices flow with the team like he got a AEW when he first went there. So yeah,
Dwayne Johnson.
What's that?
You said why didn't they give him the rock?
Yeah,
Dwayne
like give him
Johnson?
the ball, like let him cook. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
So once in a lifetime, Dean Ambrose versus The Rock.
But yeah, it was disappointing. Like I mean, come on, dude. He's a talented dude. Give him a chance, Vince. But wasn't his type. He likes well, never mind.
Yeah, there was some decent stuff in between there, but yeah, it's like Dickie said earlier, it was just like a trajectory down, and then obviously he ends up leaving just because of bad creative and stuff. But any final thoughts on this, Dickie? I know you said there wasn't, other than the bad news Barrett match that you wanted to do a deep dive on, there wasn't much that you could really get your teeth into, not having memories of this and not watching it from the time.
What was your favorite Wade Barrett run? League of Nations. Because that was the thing that happened after I started watching. Yeah. Sorry, what was your actual question? Just Brandon interrupted.
Any final thoughts on this? Like I said, I know you weren't sort of like that enthused about sort of like going back and watching this. So is it any final thoughts on this whole period of Jon Moxley's career?
Yeah, like, I mean, like he said in the book, I mean, he was very excited about this because he felt like this was going to really propel him, and eventually he would be the one to blow up the Death Star or whatever. And yeah, never really came. It's funny because, I think it's not that Vince didn't like him or anything. I think we've seen on numerous interviews, his book, that Vince didn't want him to leave, and they had I'm not going to say they had a great relationship because I don't like saying anybody with Vince is a great relationship, but I mean, Moxley had a relationship with Vince where he could just walk into his office and just say, I don't want to do this, or this is shit or whatever. And Vince would do the Jedi mind trick on John so that when he left the office, he would do it, sort of thing. But I think Vince kind of respected that part of Moxley and all that sort of stuff. I think the problem is that Vince also loves comedy characters. And it's like, you're going to be our number one star. Sorry, our number one comedic star. In the category of comedy goofballs, you are our champion. You are the top of the, sort of thing. You've got Roman, who's going to be our next Hulk Hogan, because Vince is still trying to replace Hogan. You have Seth, who I guess, I don't know, is like the next Bret Hart or something. And then you've got the Honky Tonk Man, which is, I don't know, what other comedy characters sort of thing. But Vince held them all in extremely high regard. Like, they were going to be the top, but it was like, you fit into this category. And obviously John didn't see himself like that. And he was, Moxley was never going to be anything else aside from that. So it's a bit of a shame because this really is, as I read in the book, like, he thought that this was going to go one way, and it went another way and never turned around. And this was the beginning of the end for Dean Ambrose in WWE. He's done a tremendous thing leaving the company and going to AEW, no matter what you think of his run there, because it's just it is showing people what he's capable of, and that's usually how WWE works. It's like, we're not going to give you the opportunity, but if you go elsewhere and get that opportunity and we see it, then we can talk, kind of thing. So he could potentially return at some point and be a threat, sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, this was, like I said, this was the just before I started watching again, and when I started watching, Dean was on a very steep decline.
But was it his roadblock end of the line?
It was just his normal roadblock. Roadblock end of the NXT one. Yeah. From Toronto house show. Thanks, Benno.
Anyway, so yeah, that's the end of the show. So let's get this booked in.
So we were watching World War III from 1998.
Oh my God, no, that isn't.
I was
happening.
in the car. No. I'm not going to talk about it. I was in the car and I was watching on my phone with some other people, and Brandon was there, and I was making jokes and jokes that
you weren't driving the car while you were watching on your phone.
No, that's the story. My wife was driving the car, and I made some jokes that I knew Brandon would laugh at, and my wife said, "Well, he laughs a lot," and I said, "Yeah," and then she said, "He's laughing at jokes that aren't even funny." So I don't even know if that was an insult against you or against me, but this is my life.
All types of ways.
Yeah, now I wish I had a job.
I wish I had a shield with a scarab.
Oh, poor Brandon. You just like to make people comfortable, I guess, don't you, when they tell jokes, I suppose.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were off the air. I thought we had stopped recording.
So anyway, plugs. Poison Rana is our home. Tons of new stuff up this month. They are a big new show. The champ is here, looking back at all of John Cena's title reigns. First episode is a hoot. Obviously, Andrew Thompson and Nate Milton on there with them. Fantastic show. Also on the Patreon, they did a best match ever in Europe part 2. So yeah, definitely check that stuff out. Definitely sign up for the Patreon. Tons of stuff there. Davey and Braden always do fantastic work. Cena, obviously, Shot in the Dark. Fantastic work that he's doing. I don't think we've had a new Warp Dough this month, unless I missed it. And then, obviously, Detox with Braden and Jordan Goodman. Congratulations to Jordan Goodman. He just got married, so congratulations to Jordan on that one. And yeah, all the best to Chris Elliott. He always joins us for these live shows on YouTube. I know he's been through some life-changing stuff recently. Great guy. So all the best to Chris. And
happy birthday. It was his birthday today, although ended half an hour ago in your time. But yeah, happy birthday, Chris.
And shout out to Chris Leone. I hope he beats those charges.
Yep. Hopefully he does. Hopefully he's got a good lawyer. What about you, Dickie? I know we had a big announcement down there in London. The Chop Tease X Grapple is finally upon us after all the waiting. We've all seen Benno's grapple hat for a long time, and everyone was like, where can we get those? And finally we can. Tons of great stuff there.
That's something that has definitely been in the works for a while. And I'm glad that we put that, managed to get it out there, and I'm hoping soon to kind of circle back and maybe spitball some new ideas on some new stuff, but it's good for them to have some merch and one that's very UK and Europe friendly. I think that's the real key thing, instead of shipping things out of the US to those parts of the world, because as you can imagine, sales so far have been, primarily in that region. So I'm happy to make customers' lives a little easier for people there, but there will be a new brand coming on at the end of the month. So look out for that. I won't give any things away, although there are always clues everywhere. And yeah, just stay hooked to the socials at chopped_tees on the socials, I guess, X and Instagram. 10% off your first order if you sign up to the newsletter, and yeah, free shipping pretty much everywhere. And winter time is coming, so we'll be launching our winter catalog not too long from here. So expect new beanies, new hoodies, and maybe a thing or two very special that might exist that you might see on the video. So keep an eye out for those things. But yeah, everything's running really great. Really enjoying it.
Yeah, Top Work's been some fantastic stuff. When you said catalog there, I had memories back to being a kid when you'd have a physical catalog. That'd be awesome if you just did a physical catalog that people
Macy's
could
catalog in the Toys R Us.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah, I'd have a lot of nostalgia over that. I know a lot of like wrestling fans would as well.
We kind of do, but it's in email form. But I appreciate the sentiment. I know it's not the same, but I understand.
A Christmas catalog from Chop Tees, that'd be fantastic. Make
the
it happen.
JCPenney catalog used to be the vibe, man, especially during the holiday season.
Yeah, good.
Remember those ones that they put in the thing, and then it would say like, oh, so and so is coming back to collect this. Can you put it back in your post box even if you don't want it?
Oh yeah, we had those. Yeah,
it's like, fuck off! I'm putting this in the bin. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, like Avon sort of stuff, weren't it? Like makeup.
Yeah, it was like, I understand if you wanted to buy something because you write it on the thing and you put it back and then they collect it or whatever. But it still also said if you're not buying it to put it back in there because they'll put it in someone else's post box. I'm like, fuck off! I don't work for you.
Be kind.
It's the same. It's the same as when I get canvassers coming to my house and saying, trying to get me to vote for someone. And I'm like, well, I'm not an Australian citizen. I'm a New Zealand citizen. I can't vote in your thing. And they say to me, well, what if we tell you the information and then you could tell some of your friends? And I'm like, fuck off. That sounds like a job. That's not my job. That's your job. Get out of
here. Who's canvassing at your house in the middle of nowhere?
Okay, maybe not at my new house, but like previous locations, yeah.
At a summer location, they were canvassing.
In the Briz Vegas, in the Bane of Briz.
When he lived in the Maldives, they would come visit him, the canvassers.
Yeah, Brizzy. Don't call it Briss Vegas. That's something else.
What about you, Brandon? Any plugs?
Rampage on Saturday mornings on Twitter.
Oh, the Eagles play at 8:20.
So you're just plugging NFL games? Is that what you're doing?
I mean, the usual, man. Chop-Tees, plug that.
When are we just getting it? When are we getting a picture? When are we getting a T-shirt that's just got Brandon's face on it?
Only one person would buy that. That'd be me.
Yeah. No, Brandon's got like 300 people in his family. He could make big bucks off that. They could sell it for Christmas or something.
They're typical family members. They want stuff for free. Come on.
All right, fun of them.
I don't care as long as you buy it for them. As long as someone's buying it, then that's fine.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we could get like when you were front row with the guys.
Oh, with Tanahashi.
Yeah, that could be an image that we could put on a postcard or something. It's like greetings from New Jersey and Brandon high-fiving Tanahashi,
It was my fault his knees went to butter then, right?
No, yeah, you infected
The Portrait
him.
of Dorian Gray is Tanahashi after that show.
Yeah.
So Martin, I Aren't you
Yes,
going
Richard.
somewhere?
Am I going? Oh yeah, I'm going to Florida in a week.
Yeah.
There will be canvassing you, man.
I know, yeah. Well, I don't. They won't be in a theme park, but I never know with these Trump guys. They might be there, like protesting.
What's your main purpose this time of going? You're following witches around or something? Or?
Oh yeah, it's Halloween Horror Nights, the biggest Halloween horror thing in the world. So yeah, looking forward to that. It's going to be fantastic. Loads of like scare mazes and everything. It's going to be loads of fun.
Sounds
Can't
it's
wait.
very good. And
You ever thought about going to Connecticut? Like, because that's where all the British people end up at the end. They always end up living in Connecticut. What's up with that?
I don't know anybody that lives in Connecticut.
I see a lot of British expats moving to Connecticut.
You see them?
Huh?
How often are you in Connecticut?
I don't know. Does it remind them of
England? They're British? Do they walk around with a Union Jack going down British?
They've got those bobby hats, the beefeater hats they're just wearing and shit.
Yeah.
They're just wearing tiaras and stuff, I guess.
And saying, "No, here, my good man, come here."
Pretty much.
Yep. So they'll have to look into that, Brandon. Do some research and come back to some numbers with me. I want to know more about this Brits in Connecticut. It seems to be
send us a playlist.
An epidemic.
I'm on it.
Right, and on that bombshell, all these Brits living in Connecticut, we'll be back next month with a whole new show all about that man, John Moxley. Thank you for everyone who's joined us on the live chat. Thanks for everyone who listens to us on iTunes and what have you. And thanks to obviously Davey and Braden for allowing us the platform. All roads lead to Poison Rana.
The number one podcast in England.
Indeed. And forget all those football ones. Yeah, it's us. So anyway, we'll be back next month. See you later, Ambrose.